A lot going on since Saturday. A lot of positives. I've thought that was an unbelievably good college basketball game. Thought it was, for the first time since I've been here, to go into a game, to have a game against the number 3 team in the country at their place, that the grit, the toughness, the fight, the attention to detail was there, where we didn't have to shoot 50% to win on the road. I've told this team all year long, Stephen F. Austin versus Utah, the NCAA tournament, one of the best offensive teams in the country, and we shot 32% or 31%, and we're down 52-50 with 42 seconds to go. To me, that's my kind of basketball. The game is so easy when the ball goes in, and yet when the ball doesn't go in, you have to find a way. You have to be that kind of team to be to become good. And it's the first time since I've been here I felt like I was coaching one of my teams. I loved our aggressiveness, our competitiveness at the end. I thought we were one play away on either end of the court, and it's a busted play. Dre almost had a steal, a deflection. There's 8 seconds to go on the clock, and their 4-year starter senior throws one in from 30 feet, and that was important. Caught their players off guard. They looked kind of disbelief. They weren't in rebound position either. So I liked the opportunities we got. I got Georgie 5 straight touches on the block, of which give Smith credit. He's showed why he's a first-round draft pick, and he made a block on one. Georgie had one go in and out. We had 6 possessions where the ball was in the paint. Io missed a little floater. Kofi missed a little lob off a tremendous offense. Kipper missed a tip-in. Kipper missed a little turnaround jump shot that he's been making. Jermaine missed a little tip-in. And unfortunately, on the last play of the game, it's a play that we've seen Dre make many times. Smith made a great hedge, and got a hand on it, and made a great defensive play. But unbelievable game. There was some possessions could have gone either way. We missed a couple free throws. We were 1 of 3 on the F1. Trent had an opportunity to make it a 2-possession game. 90%. I'll take Trent on the foul line in that scenario every time. But give Anthony Cowan credit. But man, that was one hell of a college basketball game and league games. And there's a completely different attitude. You're not going to score 120 points in league games. Completely different attitude, completely different mindset when it comes to conference play. You guys all know that, and that was everything that we expected it to be, and disappointing. We had a dejected locker room. We should. That's the way it should be. And again, I felt very disappointed, but excited for the growth we made.
I guess to go from number 3 Maryland to number 5 Michigan back to back, just what's the challenge of that for this team, and does the game against Maryland and how you played maybe play into going into tomorrow night's game, Lenny?
Yeah, and I think the one thing, Scott, that I've told our team is everything that we did in the Maryland game can be carried over. The scouting report is different. Maryland's a different team than Michigan. But the attention to detail, the toughness, I mean, we played like a physically tough team. I mean, there were collisions at the rim, there were charges, there was skin left on the floor, there was blood on the floor. Those are the things that can carry over, and the attention to detail and we made by far and away the fewest mistakes we've made defensively in any game, and we worked very hard at that, and had what I thought was a tremendous game plan defensively for Maryland, and we made stuff hard on them. So it was ugly when both teams are shooting under 35%. Those are the things that can carry over against Michigan. Michigan's different in terms of their emphasis of what they do offensively, and it's not a typical Michigan team, what we've seen and gotten accustomed to with John Beilein. This is very much a fast-paced, oriented team, but we've got to carry that mindset over, and that's something that can be very, as we say, everyday guyish. That's something we can do every day.
Brad, what would you like to see different, if anything, from your guys in these end-of-game situations, given the one-possession games you've played?
Well, I'd like to see us get a shot on the rim. I think that's the one thing. But if you're going to say, we've spent some time on them this week, obviously in situations. There's same type things that we've run. We got Io going downhill, and in that play, it wasn't great execution. We got Dre going downhill, in a game where, they can't foul. And we've seen him make a lot of plays like that. And again, it's in the Miami game, it was one player making a hell of a play, making a charge. And then in this game, it was Smith and going right at him in a ball screen, and he can't foul, and Dre kind of fumbled it. So we got to execute better. We got to get it on the rim, and we've spent a good amount of time here in the last couple days just cleaning up things with 12 seconds to go or under in the game.
How much do you guys practice late game situations, and has there been more of an emphasis on that in the last?
Yeah, I mean, we cover them. I think you get to a point where you're once or twice a week, and now we've spent some time on them every day. Talking about just different actions where we want to go. You start looking at. We talk a lot about situations, score, and time. Not just the action and the play. We feel like we've got enough in. We've actually added a couple of things. We've got to be able to get Trent options and looks. Kofi's made, I think, 16 out of his last 17 free throws, so we're a little more comfortable now making him a viable option at the rim. In case of him getting fouled, we weren't that early. So we've spent some good amount of time on that in the last couple of days.
Save for Saturday, Kofi's managed to stay out of foul trouble for the most part. Was that just maybe a refresher for him to know things he can and can't do, or was that maybe more of an anomaly that he got?
Yeah, I'm still trying to find a couple of them. I thought he was really good. I thought he was at the tough end of one. It was kind of a hip check, and that's it's the first time two of those officials had seen us. And it's like Kofi's large, and Stick Smith weighs 200 pounds, and when there's contact, it looks more violent than it truly is. And a couple of those were I don't want to get fined. So, but yeah, I mean, we need Kofi on the floor, and there's no question. He had to sit a long period of time. I thought Kipper was tremendous. Playing 25 minutes. But yeah, Kofi's first time it's really happened where he's had to sit a lengthy period because of foul trouble, and his non-presence. His ball screen coverage was unbelievable the other night, and his presence at the rim was a problem for them.
Brad, for you guys as a coaching staff, I mean, you've been around the Big Ten for a while. What's the process to adjust to a new coach that does things quite differently than maybe they had in the past?
Yeah, it's no different than you play a non-league game, except that, it's a league game, and Juwan is a tremendous coach, and he's inherited a tremendous program with a lot of veterans, and those veterans are making plays. They're playing much faster. They're all shooting threes. I really believe the Livers kid is maybe the most improved player in the country that I have seen, shooting 48% from the three, and was always kind of a backup, offensive rebound guy. And now he pull-up threes in transition. I've been a big Xavier Simpson fan, and he's really kind of turned it over to Xavier. And I think there were 2 games in the Bahamas where he had 13 assists. He's the engine that makes them go, and he does it with passing. So we treat it like a non-league game. We got to be dialed into what they are. We know they're players. That helps. But, this style is different, both ends of the court.
What was different about Kipper in that game? Is there anything you can point to try to get that out of him more consistently?
I don't know. I think maybe it was the preparation. There was a lot of one-on-one time with Kipper in terms of assignment sound. Kipper made a play that he has not been making. It was a very questionable goaltend call, but Kip went up and got it and challenged, and it wasn't just the one effort that he made to help. It was the second effort to go block it, and his multiple efforts were paid off for him, and he's got a great understanding of what we're doing defensively, and when he matches that effort with it, then he's a pretty effective player, and it was nice to see him get a 3 to go or a long jump shot, and I feel great when he catches it in the post. That little fadeaway jump shot he's got is pretty tough to get to. So, we need that from Kipper.
Brad, what's the challenge with Xavier Simpson, given he has a really good ability to find people, and yet he can also score? I mean, how do you approach it without overdoing one way or the other?
Yeah, it's a great challenge of playing a great passer. It is how much do you commit to him? How much do you commit to stopping him? When I had Juwan Evans, it was very much what opponents faced with him. Do you let him beat you with the pass, or do you let him beat you with scoring? And I think Juwan had a 44-point game one night because people chose one way, and he had double-figure assist games because teams played one way. So he's a problem. He's been that for everybody that they've played, and the problem is he's made all of those guys very, very adept at shooting the three, and we've got to be solid on him. We got to keep him in front, make him work. You've got to have a presence with him all the time, and you got to do that early because he's an elite passer. He will throw passes tomorrow with a velocity that very few players in college basketball do, and he puts them right on the spot, right on the money. I mean, there are very few passes he delivers that are not where the offensive player on his team can do something with it. And there's tremendous velocity, right-handed and left-handed. That's a true gift.
I guess in the last few years, what you may have seen from Trent, maybe just as his game has grown, he's matured in his preparation, and then maybe how he approaches things on the court because of that.
Well, I think there's one example that comes to mind, and that was, after the Miami game, and he was setting with Quay Jones, our graduate assistant, and going through every play of the game at 1:30 in the morning, texting me. And that involvement, that understanding, the greatest thing about experience is just simply the understanding of the game and understanding what you see when a team does this, what your reads become. And, Trent's at that point. It's not just scoring a basket. He understands the greater part of the game, and it's the defensive end. And and the reads, and he wants to see how to correct his mistakes. That development with Trent has been light years. I mean, he didn't think about anything but getting a bucket his first year here, and if he didn't get a bucket, he didn't guard. And now we've got that full-fledged all-around player, and he wants to know how Michigan, our next opponent, is guarding ball screens and where his opportunities come. And made a couple of great lob passes to Kofi over the top because he made the right reads and ball screens, and that's growth.
Last year, late game against Michigan State, Ohio State, you went to Io for the game-winning shots. Are you still this year developing an identity of who you are offensively late in those games? You tried Andres, Georgie, Io. How do you find that of this is what we need to do?
A lot of it's matchup, a lot of it's scouting. You go back to the Michigan State game. There was an intent with where we went with that shot, and a tremendous purpose based on who they had in the game at the time. And it was a pass play. It wasn't a dribble option. The other night, getting the ball at the paint when you're in the bonus is all I'm thinking about. In a close one-possession game, I want to get to the free throw line. I want to get the ball to the rim. That's a lot of the same action and just space that we ran when Georgie had 36. And you give Smith an opportunity. A lot of it is matchups, as much as it is time and score, free throws, bonus. We're trying to attack a certain defender, but the other team has some say in that too, based on scouting report, and we see a lot of teams doing certain things to certain players, and we try to take advantage of that. That's one of the things with Georgie. We felt like he can go right hand, left hand. He's got 27 pivots, and he made a couple. But he had one that was in and out. Smith made an elite block on one, and then he caught the one that was a jump hook to the baseline. He shot over the rim. He caught too far out, and that same sequence of plays, Smith ran over Trent, who set a great screen. There's a high-low option to that. We didn't need it. It's based on just scouting and what you think that gives you the best opportunity to be productive in that sequence, and a lot goes into that. And we've spent a lot of time this week. We've probably spent 30, 40 minutes in each practice, trying to help in those situations based on not just us, but based on scouting and opponents' deficiencies and who's their weak defenders, and going at those situations.
I guess nobody has asked you yet about that timeout between the Cowan free throws and the decision going into that. What was that?
Well, if you look down, Turgis telling them to miss it. We have a play we run when they make it, and when you start getting under 3 seconds on the clock, my mistake in that was not taking the administrative technical, and I wanted to make sure, because you basically have a catch and shoot. And when you can't get set up, okay, he's going to miss the free throw. You can't get set up. It's a broken play. And I should have probably taken the administrative technical because I wanted our guys to know he was going to miss it. And then we had to get to spots. We got the ball to Dre at half court on a quick outlet and a heave. And that's basically what you're going to get. Don't call it. Second runs off. Now you're at 1.2. Probably should have taken the administrative technical. I wanted our guys to be aware of what we were doing when I saw them signal that they were going to miss it. They only get one free throw. You get the timeout, and then you get the ball back. And if I had it to do all over again, it wouldn't be the timeout. It would be that I didn't take the administrative technical and call another one. No, just call the timeout. Just call another timeout. They administer the timeout, and you get one free throw. So it makes it so it goes instead of 1 to 2. Looking back, I would do that. The timeout at that point was insignificant with that little time, because as soon as they said miss it, there's going to be a second go off. You're on the road. You're not going to get the timeout. You don't advance the ball like you do in the NBA. You want to make sure you've got options to pass, but there were that's what I'd do if I had to do it all over again.